good evening. It's Sunday night, which means it can only be one thing. The end of the week, the start of a new week. No, it's another Insta Live with me, Jenny Gow. Hello. And I'm really excited about my guest for today because he's someone I worked with eons ago, the lovely Bradley Smith. And he's been incredibly rude over the last 48 hours about speaking with me on a Sunday night, suggesting that maybe I'm the best of a bad bunch of options that he's got. Also saying that I make him feel old because I dared to mention that we worked together in 2010, which is actually quite a long time ago. But don't worry, Bradley, I will always be older than you, so that's fine. So I will start by saying cheers. Good evening. Welcome along. If it's the first time you've watched because you have no interest in Formula One, then hello to you. If you're here because you like Formula One, then we'll still have a little chat about that. Fear not. But Bradley is top guy, and he's raced at the highest level for England. And I thought what we needed at a time like this was someone who has represented this country, and we can talk to him about what that's like, standing on a podium at Silverstone. How cool is that? Get his thoughts maybe a little bit about the MotoGP season, but also he's in MotoE now. He finished second in the championship last year, and there's a whole wave of drivers and riders sort of migrating over to electric sport, so I thought we could have a little chat about that as well. Who's that? Radio Alex says, God, I remember before you were famous back in 2008. I'm not famous now, it's fine. But yes, I am actually that old. So lots has been going on this week, obviously. I did my first ever sort of Zoom show called Fast Talkers, so I don't know if you were there and you've seen the pilot for that, but that's been really cool, and I'm going to try and do another one this week coming. And what a weird week it's been with regards of Williams have won Le Mans and George Russell is now the 2020 F1 champion. Who needed more in life than that? So yeah, we've got, here we go, look, there's George Russell. He's won just now with the virtual GPs, and I really want to know how you found it, because George is obviously very happy about it, and you know, he's been really candid, I suppose, and really clear about saying that he's enjoyed racing his mates back at the front and at the pointy end of the grid, and it's been really tough for him, I think. Getting a seat at Williams, fantastic, but not being able to compete when he knows he can, clearly frustrating. But you know, there we go. He's a happy lad anyway, and well, you can't really see this so well, but also very happy are the guys who have won Le Mans, the Rebellion/Williams team. They've done a cracking job, and I just want to take you back to this man, Jenson Button. So this time, a million years ago, in 2011, Jenson Button won the Canadian Grand Prix. It was the longest race in the history of Formula One, and it was my very first race in Formula One working for the BBC. And I've never had a more bonkers experience in my entire life, and that is saying something. I didn't know who people were, and yet had to somehow fill over 4 hours of live radio. And I don't know if you know how it works, but basically I'm pretty much on my own. You've got commentary team in a commentary box. The producer is either in that commentary box or in a room next to them, if you're lucky. And I'm just kind of perusing around by myself. I don't have a spotter. I don't have a producer next to me. I'm trying to arrange interviews while still speaking on the radio a lot of the time. And that race was particularly chaotic. So, yeah, best race ever, says Dr. Bob. I agree with you. It was absolutely fantastic, and I'll never forget all of the journalists stand around in a pen at the end of the race, waiting for the drivers to come in when we interview them. And that day, Jenson Button, as he crossed the line, having been last at one point, McLaren were hoping that the entire race would be rained off so they could get half points for something, and not lose out too many. But Jenson went and won it, and everybody was cheering. It was just incredible. And did I get soaked? Did I heck? But then that's my life as a pit lane reporter. I always get absolutely drenched. And that's part of the fun, isn't it? That's what we go there for. Anyway, enough of me chitter-chattering. Get your questions in. I'm going to hopefully hook up Bradley in a couple of seconds. Let's get rid of that picture first of all. And yeah, if you've got questions, there's a little question mark box just at the bottom. Let me know if you would like to partake, join in. We're always happy to take and get Brad as many as possible. And if you're wondering what I'm drinking, yep, it's Sauvignon Blanc. Back to my best. There he is. Hello.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Are you in prison?
No, why?
That is a very blank wall behind you. I'm just worried.
Oh, no. This is my bedroom wall. It's a blank wall.
That's okay then. There's like nothing.
No.
But it's a nice backdrop.
Yeah, otherwise, like, I've got the light from IKEA, and it just makes me look like a space alien from the top if I go inside of my sofa. So I'm just like, all right, this works the best.
That's good. Now I feel cluttered in my background. You're minimalist. I've gone maximum stuff.
Yeah, but that makes you look intelligent. Mine just makes me look like I live a basic life, hermit life.
Maybe that is the way that riders have to be.
We'll go with that.
How are you?
Very well, very well. I'm just got back from testing in Misano this week, so I basically rode 4 days in 7 weeks, which just, yeah, considering that we're in confinement or lockdown or whatever it is that you want to call it, and then it's like suddenly 4 days in 7 weeks, or 7 days, I'm just like, yeah, bye.
Did you feel naughty at all? Did you feel like you must be breaking the rules because we've all been so confined?
Oh, it was strange because I didn't know how the Italian border was going to be, because obviously everyone said, oh, no, it's all right to go. And it opened on June the 3rd. And I think I was crossing on like the 6th or 7th. But I just didn't want any problems. And I just like was kind of like creeping up there, like, is anyone going to stop me? And there was like no police. And it was like, quick, go. Don't stop.
That's amazing. And, you know, what a great track to go and ride around for a while.
Say again?
What a great track to go and ride around.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I'd never ridden, because I went to Cremona, which is a privately owned track, and went and did that for a couple of days, and I'd never ridden there, so it was just a nice one to tick off the list. But then obviously Misano being on the calendar with 2 races this season, yeah, it's nice to kind of get my eye in round there, and I've got another 3 days at the end of the month. So yeah, should be good.
Oh look, Dr. Bob's asking, do you have to self-isolate now?
I don't know what the rules are, but I pretty much self-isolate myself anyway. Like I haven't been out the house for the last 3 days, so you know, I just got into this routine now, especially with quarantine. I've got like the gym or set up on my balcony and whatever, so basically I don't really need to go out. But I think tomorrow I need to go to the supermarket though. I'm running low on food.
Yeah, you might need to stock up. So tell me, how has lockdown been for you? What's your experience been like?
To be honest, it doesn't really change that much for me, because there's not a lot that we do as motorbike riders. Like, we go ride on a weekend, you know, and then go home and wait for the next one. And you know, obviously you can train outside, you know, go ride your bicycle and whatnot. But I don't feel that we do a lot, because you're always like waiting for the next one or something like that. So yeah, like, it didn't really change too much for me. It just meant that I just had to sit and wait a little bit longer to ride bikes, and wait and see kind of how the situation for this season unfolds with everything. And I don't know, I'm just in the waiting game, so just waiting, and it's just added to the waiting phase. But that's what it is at the minute.
So what are your expectations for this season and this year?
Well, it depends what I'm going to be doing,
Mm.
in all honesty, because, obviously we got the news that the wild cards was over, or, not possible to do wild cards, which, that was a kick in the shin. Especially when you sign a contract and that's what you're looking forward to. Even though it's 4 or 5 races, still those 4 or 5 races are awesome. So that one was a bit of a kick in the shin. But looking at the MotoE calendar, that's 7 races. I had my silver medal from last year, so I need to go one better for the gold this year, which obviously is high on the priority list. And yeah, wait and see what happens with Aprilia and Andrea Iannone and his pending case, and see if I can turn up at the first race in 4 weeks' time. But we'll see what happens with that one.
That's got to be a weird situation to find yourself in. I know, as any driver or rider, you're always beholden to other people, other teammates, whatever it may be. But presumably, you've got to keep yourself primed just in case.
Yeah, exactly. And not get your hopes up too much, but also not be kind of sat on your heels. So yeah, it's one of those really weird ones that it's like, okay, be ready, because I'd be more disappointed if I wasn't ready. If the circumstances arise. I think you can never be over prepared. And like I said, I'm still doing MotoE anyway, so all this training and all this kind of work is all going to go towards something, whether it is the MotoGP or the MotoE. So it's kind of win-win for me in my situation right now. But yeah, kind of the uncertainty, I think, is the hardest one. Not knowing exactly what you're going to be doing, but I don't know. It's the situation I'm in. So just like you said, be prepared and wait and see what happens.
Now, hang on a minute, because I've got a picture, hopefully, and it's
Oh
this
dear.
one. Well, it's a
Yes.
little while ago, just a little bit.
It feels a very long time ago.
Just remind us, where were you? What was happening? Tell all.
This was an epic day. I will go on a little bit of a story, so bear with me. I had technical problems with my bike on Saturday. So basically, I think I got one flying lap in qualifying or something, and I qualified 27th, I want to say. And I was like, my team was gutted, everyone was gutted, mechanics were like beside themselves, especially because it was the British Grand Prix. And I just went to bed that night and I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to turn this round, blah, blah, blah. And for some reason, I woke up 6 o'clock in the morning and I was like, all right, race day, turned on the TV and it said it was going to rain. And I was like, okay, this will be interesting. And I looked out and it was just lashing with rain. And I don't know, something was just telling me that it was going to be my day. And I had a dreadful warm up. The setting wasn't working right. And I was like, okay, it's not going to be my day then. And my crew chief, Tom Jojic, he just sat and crunched numbers for a few hours and yeah, rolled a setting out for me. And yeah, rest is history. I basically rode from 27th to 2nd and got second at my home Grand Prix. So yeah, pretty awesome.
Is that, do you think, the high point or one of the high points of your career?
I think that was a massive turning point in terms of I went on a run then of 3 podiums in a row. So I think it was a podium there, then a podium in Assen, and a podium in the dry in Mugello. And then it was summer break. And basically, I sat there during summer break, and Hervé Poncharal offered me a three-year deal, basically to do 1 more year in Moto2 and then 2 years in MotoGP. So that was the start of kind of the massive break of my career, and the continuation of the journey into GP. So that was I didn't realize it at the time, but it was the start of the next 2-3 years of my career and the route to the GP class.
And on the bottom of that post, I think you put gutted to not be going back to Silverstone. You know, obviously everybody's having to make changes this year. Seasons are looking very different, whatever sport you are into or competing in. And just to give an example, in case people haven't seen it, this is the MotoGP calendar. So quite a lot of Spain, as one would imagine. And that's where it'll start. But you know, everything's different. So I mean, everybody's gutted that Silverstone won't be hosting the bike racing this year. But were you surprised at that?
Yes and no. We know that, you know, Silverstone has put a lot of effort into motorsport in general, but if there was a priority, of course it's going to be Formula One, and they're going to do everything that they can. Why? Because I think it's 4 or 5 teams are within 30-minute drive of Silverstone circuit, and we have a British Formula One world champion, multi world champion, and that's always going to beat us in terms of MotoGP. Our market in terms of 2 wheels, we don't sell a whole load of bikes inside the UK, so you know, cars take more of the market. So I can really understand where they're coming at and why they give the priority there. But also I can understand that maybe it just didn't work out with Dorna doing their calendar the way that it was and trying to minimize driving and going from one place to another. Yeah, I think that as much as I'm gutted, I can understand. But as long as we get to go back in 2021, I'll be happy.
Yeah, do you know what? That's the thing that always surprised me almost the most is when I started doing MotoGP, we'd go to all these places, you know, your Italy's, your Spain's, then you'd go across to Indonesia, your Malaysia's, and there are bikes everywhere. There are scooters, mopeds, bikes, big bikes. Yet you come back to the UK and you suddenly realise, no wonder we don't have a huge, massive swathe of riders, because we just don't have the same culture over here. And I was really surprised that the culture for actually getting on a bike and going out and riding is so huge across Europe.
Yeah, especially by living like I did in Spain when I was younger, and then spending like lots of time in Italy, you just get to see it. But then the crazy thing is that when you actually speak to the manufacturers and they actually turn around and go, well, Europe's not even a market for us. I'm like, what do you mean Europe's not a market? And they're like, no, it's just a place that we need to be. And, you know, it's a place that we can showcase our products. But when you actually have a look in list of total volume of motorcycles sold, I think it's just so minute, and that's why it's so important that if we do have the opportunity at the end of this season, would be to get out to Thailand and Malaysia. You know, that's key markets for us, and it's nuts when you turn up there and it's 125,000 people turn up at Malaysia, and some of them aren't even worried to sit down. It's just like they've just come to be part of it, and seeing that grow over the last 3-4 years, that's something special. So yeah, UK market, I mean, you just have to look at the UK weather. It's an easy excuse to go, well, I don't want to ride a bike, or I don't want to ride a scooter to the local shop, or there's certainly no, I'm going to ride to the local ice cream shop and down by the beach on my scooter, is there? It's just, It doesn't exist inside the UK.
Do you ride a bike just normally? Have you got a normal motorbike that you take out on the roads?
No, because I'm an idiot.
Can you not be trusted, Bradley?
No, absolutely not. And I know I can't. Every time that I go out, I just get into, not even race mode, I just get into ride mode, and yeah. Or yeah, for some reason I can't behave myself, go too fast, or end up pulling wheelies or doing something stupid. So I don't have a license and I'm confined to four wheels only.
I think that's probably for the safe. Right, got a couple of questions coming in. So Amit
By the way,
has been in touch saying, difference between MotoE and MotoGP bike. I'm guessing quite a lot.
yes. First and foremost, noise. So basically, there is a little bit of noise in MotoE, but there's no noise. There's no gearbox. Strangely, obviously, no clutch to pull away. So that's one of those ones that you go to release the clutch. It's, oh no, this is like a scooter. So twist and grip.
So how,
but the main
how
thing,
do you do a start?
so you basically, it's just like, this is what I'm so panicked with inside of MotoE races, because I don't want to jump the start, because if you touch throttle even a little bit, you go forward. So I'm literally just like holding on to the brakes, like I'm making sure I'm completely off the throttle before we go. But obviously you're twitching, aren't you? Because like trying to get ready to go. So yeah, that's what I'm always worried about. But that's obviously different. And then finally, just the weight. MotoGP is weighing in, I think, around 162, 160, I think is minimum bikes, and we're at 265 with MotoE. So yeah, trying to get one of those stopped is like a truck, especially on the front wheel, and especially somewhere like Austria into turn 4, where it's just a massive downhill. I think it's like 10% gradient or something down into there, and that's a real tough one. But it's fun. It's nice that we're in a championship that has 18 of the same bikes, and it's basically down to riders and teams to extract the best out of them, which is something that I haven't had for a while. So it's a breath of fresh air to be back in that situation.
And training wise, obviously it's a slightly different skill that you have to have. Do you have to have retrained your body slightly to be able to cope with the extra weight and the differences?
To be honest, it's more the case of there's no time for messing around, in terms of we literally get like FP1, FP2, which is about 5 flying laps on, like, for the battery. So it's 5 flying laps FP1, 5 flying laps FP2, straight into a 1 lap for E-pole, and then we're straight into the race, which is about 7 laps. So by the time we turn up for the race, we've done 11 laps. So it's just a case of getting your head in the game to turn up and just ride as fast as possible from the get-go, and especially in the race, like, no mistakes. So trying to figure out where you can gain the advantage. And my opening laps were always pretty good in MotoE, because I knew if I went hard then I could normally get half a second to a second, and then it would be they have to catch me, so they have to risk to try and catch me up, which happened a few too many times, unfortunately, but I gave it a go.
Dr. Bob saying, what's your favourite track? Now we'll have to ask this because it needs to be your favourite MotoE track and your favourite track of all time to compete at.
Yeah, I mean, my absolute fave is always Mugello. I cannot not love that place, and I always seem to go wow there, which always helps. I think if anyone has the opportunity to get there and see and witness that Italian passion for motorbikes in the setting of Mugello circuit, like in the Tuscan hills, they won't believe it. Like, the TV doesn't do it justice. You really have to go there to believe it. So that's always a special one for me. And away from MotoGP, I got to do Suzuka 8 Hour, and that was always one on my list. And I love that place. That's somewhere that's awesome as well. So yeah, those two are my favorite.
I'd have to say those two tracks they're purist tracks for a start. And they're tracks that you really feel the spirit of the place itself. So Mugello, as you say, F1 potentially going there this year, which would be mental. But
Is that what they're talking about? Is it?
Talking about it. They're going to have to find
really
some European places to go, because they've just ruled out going to Suzuka, Malaysia, and Singapore. They're not Malaysia. Hang on, Azerbaijan.
Okay.
So they're not going to those 3. So they're going to have to find some extra tracks to go to. And there's all sorts of places. Portimao's being spoken about. Imola's being spoken about, but Mugello would be my choice, and it would be incredible.
I can't imagine a Formula One car around that place. You know, I really just be blown away by it. So I think I actually read something about Mark Webber saying that, you know, Formula One drivers would really struggle with their necks around there because of the G-forces and whatever. So, yeah, crazy. The sound would be awesome though. Like, but probably more in the past. I'm not a big fan of the current like sounds of Formula One. You know, I am more of a fan of the old school days. So, old school before all of these battery packs and all these regen systems that's going on. But yeah, that would be awesome. That would really, really be cool. And then obviously the Ferrari Tifosi obviously turning up there as well. Like that's always a special one to see those guys in Monza, you know, just going absolutely nuts. So yeah, that would be cool. I might even try to go to that one if that was possible.
I still think you might not get in because I don't know if anyone's going to get in, unfortunately. But it would be cool.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know.
I'll go stand in the tree somewhere with binoculars and just watch.
I don't know. Like for me, the reason that Mugello is partly so cool is all the Rossi fans that go there, and they've got like a engine or a motor stuck onto a board, and they'll like light it up, and it's just the feeling of that place is incredible. I'm sure because it's a Ferrari test track, they'd embrace it as well. But it would be a very different crowd. I mean, there won't be a crowd there, but you know what I mean. It would be the feel would be very different to it without MotoGP guys there.
Yeah, I forget that they're not having any crowds. I keep on talking as if it's like, you know, I keep, yeah, but my brain just doesn't process it. But but it's such a shame as well because I've been watching some of the AMA Supercross that's been going on because you know, obviously that's one of the only motorbike sports that is going on at the moment. And yeah, it doesn't feel the same with like no one in the stands, and yeah, it's going to be very surreal. Like whatever I end up riding this year, however many rounds I end up doing, it's going to be very surreal. So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. But I think just taking a Formula One car around Mugello itself is worthwhile. So I would definitely be up for watching the race.
How much do you guys take from a crowd?
So in the race, I would say that you don't hear it. Like it's very, very difficult to hear it. Maybe Jerez, there's a couple of corners that you can. But yeah, it's not something that you're really aware of, but it's what makes it. Walking into the paddock and seeing everybody, you know, already on the hills with their air horns and their flags, and rolling out of pit lane to do the warm-up lap to the grid, you know, seeing everybody, and that's when you can hear it because you're not obviously going race pace, so you can hear everybody and, you know, give everyone a wave, and just that sea of color like standing up on the banks and everybody going wild. So yeah, those are the things that you miss. And then obviously after the race, you know, the appreciation from the fans, everybody, you know, like clapping and waving and cheering, and they create an atmosphere, you know, and that's awesome, you know, and I think we're going to realize how much we miss the fans this year when they're not there. You know, it's almost taken for granted and you don't realize how much you feed off of it. But yeah, we'll definitely be feeling it this season.
Yeah. Right. Another question for you. Here we go.
Yeah, far away.
Favorite British rider? You can't choose yourself. I don't think you would choose yourself anyway. That would be a bit weird. But yeah, favorite British rider, past, present. You can't go future. That's also weird.
Favorite British rider? Like it has to be inside of MotoGP or like anywhere in general.
Rain on that. You can choose what you want. This is a tough one, I know.
yeah, it is a little bit. To be honest, like right now I've got a situation where I'm really interested to see what happens with Jake Dixon's career, and mainly because I was asked to do a like academy tryout, like talent spotting. Never done it before, and basically there were 6 guys that turned up, and I remember seeing Jake the very, very first time that he jumped on a GP125. So basically he'd been riding super teams all season, and then he jumped on a GP125 for the first time. We kind of like dragged him onto a GP125 to do it. So I've known him and kind of watched the career progress from like 2010, I think that would have been. So yeah, to see him 10 years later and go through all the stages and then, make it into MotoE and into the Petronas team, which obviously I'm heavily linked to with the MotoE project. Interested to see what happens in the coming years for him. So I wouldn't say I got a favorite, but if there's one that I'm excited for, it's him, and to see what happens there. But also not ruling out Johnny McPhee, because we're all rooting for him going for the Moto3 championship this season, which I think he's capable of doing.
Okay, another question. Who is the toughest rider you've ever raced against?
To be honest, in terms of toughness, Zarco. And I remember in Moto2, the guy was an animal at times, in terms of passing and overtaking. So, he was, like, in terms of racecraft, he was always someone that was super tough to race against. And just in terms of a rival, Paul Espargaro, we basically started at exactly the same time in 2006. He come on the scene, I think, midway through 2006, so I got like a 4-month head start on him or something, because he had to be 16 to race, so he had to wait for his birthday. And then obviously we were teammates for, I think it was 5 years or 6 years in a row. So just seeing that bugger across the way, and his face every day, and knowing that he was going to bring his maximum every day was a hard one to deal with. But we learned to love each other in a strange way by the end. There was a mutual respect between us. The relationship was a lot different at the end of it all than it was at the beginning. So I'm glad about that.
It's often the way, isn't it? I'm struggling to get this question off. If you're wondering what the heck I'm doing, the question.
I see you kept on turning around. We kept on seeing your light and your wall and everything. I was like, where are you going?
If I could get the question to go away. Look, see, then you're just seeing.
We got a hat
on my desk.
I tell you what, your office, or whatever you call it, is, you've got everything in there. You're like Mary Poppins.
Well, I mean, it's full of toot, basically, is what we're saying. Let the question go away. Look, now you've just seen a wine glass, a guided tour. I have no idea why it won't go away. Well, let's get another question up. We're just going to block your face for this whole thing, which I don't really want to do.
It's all right. I'll try and like move around or peer over it or something.
Right. Let's have a look. There we go.
Oh, here we go.
Another question for you.
Done it.
I'll work on it, but you might get random pictures of all sorts of things in the meantime. Right. How did you like it?
So how did you... so basically the All-Stars event last year was a kind of fan initiative that Aprilia did at Mugello, where I think we hired the circuit out for a day, and yeah, I think everyone was welcome. I'm not sure if it was like, I'm not sure if it was charged. We're moving again. I'm not sure if it was yeah, technology these days. I'm not sure if it was free admission. I think it was, and basically they just brought like all the legends from Aprilia out, past and present, all the motorcycles from pretty much the Aprilia museum, back to like I think Caparossi, his 250s was there, Biaggi's championship winning bike was there. Yeah, just everything that they kind of like had gone through, past and present, with all the riders. Manuel Poggiali was there, who was like basically a hero of mine when I very first started riding. So yeah, like awesome to do. And again, cool to have the fans there, cool to see Italian enthusiasm. And yeah, shame we can't do it this year, but who knows what 2021 brings again. It's always, we'll see next year. We'll see next year.
Can but hope. Tracy has asked, would you like to give F1 racing a go?
Oh, I would love to drive an F1.
Anything like that ever?
I did it a little bit with a couple of friends. So yeah, that was quite cool. In terms of F1 car, I think I'd love the chance to drive it. But I've done a little bit of simulator work at Mitch Evans' house.
Oh, okay.
And I'm so slow. Like, I'm so off the pace to those guys that I'd be dangerous. You put me in the car and I wouldn't be able to generate the downforce. I wouldn't be able to generate the temperature. So yeah, it's a little bit wasting everyone's time, I think. But yeah, the experience and the opportunity would be amazing, just to say I've done it and have the picture, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. So who are you mates with in the world of motorsport, sports? Are there people that you've spoken about? Mitch, obviously.
Yeah, so Mitch, I know quite well. And then I'm just trying to think. Stoff Van Dorn as well. You know, he lives literally about 100 meters that way. I can wave to him when we stand on our balconies. So you know, that was that. Eugene Laverty used to live in the same apartment block as me, and then we've got like a few cyclists as well, like from Team Sky and whatnot in the area. So yeah, it's a pretty cool place to be and hang out. And yeah, it's like I said, I was around Mitch's the other night and practicing on his simulator, because obviously they're doing the Formula E races right now. So yeah, I was like, right, teach me how it's done, so I know what it's all about. So it's good.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I always imagine where you guys live being a little bit like, you know, Coronation Street. If you're hanging your washing up, you get to see everybody else at the same time. Like, if there's a charity bake sale or something, you're all going there swapping cakes. It must be a very surreal world from the world that you grew up in.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I grew up Oxfordshire, like, and out the back normally in the country fields, you know. The only person that I saw on a daily basis was a cow or a horse in the garden. So yeah, it's very different, but yeah, obviously very privileged to live where I live, and convenient as well, being in the center of Europe. You know, I drove to Italy, and you know, it was 6 hours. I think it's 6 hours to Misano, 5 hours to Mugello. I think it's 6 hours to Barcelona, and yeah, or 20 minutes to the airport and fly. So in terms of for the job, it's spot on.
Amazing. Right, let's have just a look. Right, we've kind of gone through that already. What about this one? BR8.
Oh, I'm going to see you on the new BR8 Quizcast. I did a podcast with these guys, and I think they did ask me about this, but I haven't. I've been living out of a van for the last 7 days, guys. Like, I'm sorry if I haven't replied to anyone that's watching. But yeah, I've just been living out of my van and moving from racetrack to racetrack, which has been a hell of a lot of fun. And I can recommend the van life if anyone's interested in it. It's something good. But yes, I am interested in a quiz cast, or whatever the official terminology was. I'll have to brush up on my general knowledge of something, but I don't know if anyone else has done Jay's YouTube quiz. It's normally on Thursdays. I've been an avid follower of that during lockdown, so I feel like my general knowledge has been boosted tenfold. So come at me with your quizzes.
He needs to do a race circuit round, and then we would be clear on that. We would be way up the top. What's your roughly average score for a Jay's virtual quiz?
Like mid-20s, something like that.
Okay. That's
So
okay.
yeah, like normally like 4 to 6 around, something like that. Instead, when did they bring it? Stephen Fry. Did you do it when Stephen Fry did it? Oh, I scored 0. I was like, who is this guy? Like, who does he think that we are?
Yeah, that was a poor week for us as well. We weren't bright enough. My husband is like the king of that stuff, so I just kind of leave it to him, and every now and then I'll be able to offer something
To
small.
just peer over his shoulder, a bit like.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't see it. Move it closer. That's the age thing getting in. So
Yeah.
just I won't keep you too much longer, because it's been
No
so
worries.
lovely to speak to you. But what are your hopes, I suppose, for the future? We've spoken a little bit about this year, but have you got a longer term plan?
In terms of ride motorcycles as long as I can, or certainly as long as until the fire burns out. I think that's really what it is. And it really doesn't matter in terms of what I'm doing. I try and stay inside the MotoGP for as long as possible. So obviously this testing gig with the wildcards, that's the best that I can do right now, and it's really what I want to do. I grew up inside that paddock from 15 years old, and I don't know anything else, so I feel at home there. So a lot of people have asked me about World Superbikes or BSB, but I just rather stay where I'm familiar now. At this point of my career, I'm familiar there, and I'm happy. It doesn't rule it out for the future, but while I can stick to the MotoGP paddock, I do. I'm enjoying the MotoE. It still keeps me, inside the paddock as well. So when I'm doing the MotoE, I'm also working for Aprilia at the same time. So it kind of, it's two birds with one stone. But yeah, just continue to ride motorbikes. It is what I love to do, and that's been the case since I'm 6 years old, and it hasn't disappeared. I don't know when it will do, but yeah, while it's lasting, I keep on doing that.
Well, we love watching you. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
No worries.
I hope it's not been too painful. When are you next on a bike, by the way? Do you know?
23, 24, 25. I gotta go back out to Misano, and quite excited for that test because it's basically going to be me and Aleix riding the Aprilias, and I think Ducati will be there maybe with Pirro and Pedrosa with the KTM. So there'll be a few more people to gauge where we are, because obviously this year the GP20 is a completely new bike. So yeah, at the moment it's a case of gauge ourselves off of them and see what we are. So looking forward to it.
And who do you think is going to win the MotoGP championship this year?
I got asked this, so I'm kind of prepared. I'll give you the same answer that I gave them. I think that we see Fabio Quartararo win the first race of the season at Jerez. Like, I really think that we're going to see his first victory, and I think everyone's, looking forward to that. Because he came very, very close in some exciting racing last season. So I think we see him win the first race. But you can't bet against Marc Marquez for the championship, seeing the way that he dominated last season, and seeing the pace that they also had again during winter testing. He's had the break as well after having the operations on his shoulders. He's going to be the favourite man, but this season's going to be interesting. Suzuki is going to be a lot more competitive, which I'm really excited to see, and Yamaha as well. So I think for the fans at home, you might not be there at the track, but there's going to be some tremendous racing to be watching on TV. So make sure you tune in.
Hurrah! Thank you. Love to the family. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Do good shopping. Do safe shopping.
Yes. I got. Do you have to wear masks when you go to the supermarket and stuff inside the UK?
You don't have to yet, but I think lots of things change tomorrow with regards to masks. So if you're going on public transport and stuff, you do.
Okay.
But
See,
let's
here
face it,
you have to.
Oh,
No, I've been I've been seeing it a little bit, and I'm just like, oh, UK, what are you doing? Come on, come on, come on, Boris, sort it out.
There we go. We get political on this as well. It's lovely to see you. Lovely to speak to you. Stay
No
well,
worries.
and see you soon. Take care, brother.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, lovely Bradley. So nice to speak to him. Such a good guy, and you guys are lucky to have had him. We're all lucky, really, to have had him representing us, and hopefully to represent us still in the future. In whatever he goes on to do, MotoE, or if he can get back into MotoGP, that would be mega. So there we go. Another Sunday night wrapped up. And a few of you have been asking about fast talkers, so I will try and answer a couple of questions on that. If you've got any other questions, let me know. But so I just thought, because I'm not seeing any of Mild Muckers in the paddock in F1, and the chances are I won't be seeing them for a while, it was a good opportunity for like-minded people and journos to sit down and discuss things that are kind of going on in the world of motorsport and F1. It won't all be F1 related, but at the moment it is. So I'm going to do another one this week with some more special guests from the paddock, and we'll have a good chat about what's going on in the world. And hopefully we'll find out some more news as well as Austria gets closer and closer. What's Paul saying? Loving your baseball cap collection behind you. Are they F1 related? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hang on a minute. I can show you. Here, look. So I've had a few questions about these. So I've got a whole range of them. So that one is obviously not F1 related. But we've got the old Force India ones, the Mercedes ones, China Racing, because that's Formula E, the Alonso 300 Grand Prix race cap. This is the McLaren one. I think it's it's a Fernando Alonso and Stoffel Van Dorn one, Pirelli, and then 2 Race of Champions ones. So that is my F1 related basketball cap collection. I don't wear basketball caps because I look like an idiot in them. Look, I'll show you. There's one here which is not an F1 related one, but I do not see baseball caps in by any stretch of the imagination because I've got a pea head, so I don't wear them. My hubby wears them sometimes, but those ones just stay there, and then all the other books around it are F1 related as well. Any news on F1 for you yet? We're kind of getting there. I don't think I'll be going to a race anytime soon, hence the fast talkers. Yeah, let's watch this space, and I'll keep you updated. Right, another guest coming on next week. I shall share that with you a little bit later on in the week. Thank you once again for joining me and keeping me company on a Sunday night. It's been an exhausting week, so I'm going to go and sit down, relax. I hope you do the same, and see you next week. Bye-bye for now, and thanks again for joining me. It's been lovely.